Well, I think this movie is going to make some people worried at their next Zoom meeting. Hey everybody, Ryan Reed here, and yeah, today we're talking about the new film that is premiered on Shudder just this last week called Host. It's not The Host, that's the South Korean monster movie that's really good. No, it's just called Host. And yeah, this movie, if you follow horror movies at all or anything on social media, you know that everybody has been talking about this movie. They've been talking about how great it is and how scary it is, and Rotten Tomatoes, I think it has 100%, and on Rotten Tomatoes' list of the top horror movies of 2020 so far, I think it's #1, something like that. So this movie's getting a lot of recognition. And so, of course, I wanted to check it out and see if it was really worthy of all the buzz. And I gotta say, it's a fun movie. I wouldn't quite go as far as everybody else has, but it's enjoyable. If you have not heard about this movie, about Host, what it is essentially, well, we've all been in quarantine. There were a group of people that got together and they made this little movie where they filmed it over Zoom, which is a really cool concept. It's not the first time something like this has been done, but apparently the director did a little short where he did like a Zoom style setup, same kind of thing. And from my understanding from the article I read, he included some footage from those movies, Wreck, the kind of like found footage movies, and it was a little thing that went viral, like a little short little thing, and the executives over at Shudder saw it and said, hey, do you want to turn that into a feature-length movie? And he went, okay, cool. So the concept's pretty simple. It's a group of friends get together on a Zoom meeting and they have a virtual seance, and things go wrong. That's basically all you need to know. This movie, there's a lot of things I did enjoy about this movie. First and foremost being the fact that, yes, again, it's not the most original concept, but it is cool to see a movie that was actually filmed in quarantine using the, what we currently have. The way people are connecting is via Zoom, so utilizing that and still making a movie that's very effective, via that platform was a really cool concept, and I really liked seeing that play out. The other thing I like about this movie, oddly enough, is its runtime. This movie is only 56 minutes, and it's got, the logos at the beginning of the movie, and then your credits at the end of the movie. So you probably are looking at like 52, 53 minutes of actual movie footage, but I enjoy that. I like the fact that this movie is so short because it knows what it's doing. It knows what it does well. It's an effective horror movie. You get in, you get out in under an hour. And you don't really see movies like that. I think that's one of the cool things about streaming services now is that time constraints of your typical movie don't exist anymore. You used to have movies be a certain length, and you used to have actual reels, and then we switched over to digital, and now movies can be as long as they want. But, you go see a movie in theater, and sometimes a lot of movies now are afraid to go shorter. It feels like more movies are aiming for 2 hours plus. I mean, you can see a Marvel movie, some of them are like 3.5 hours long. We don't need a movie to always be that long. And typically, I think what they consider feature length is like 70. A movie has to be like 70 minutes minimum. Maybe it's like 65, something like that. And this movie doesn't reach that, but it's okay. It tells its story. Because the movie's so short, any shortcomings, little pun unintentionally there, but any shortcomings the movie had didn't bug me as much because I didn't feel like I was committing 2 hours to this movie. And so I enjoyed it on that level. There are things about the movie that I didn't like quite as much. It's why I don't understand why the amount of, all the praise this movie has been getting, why it's being just like, looked at as an amazing film. I really think the reason people are connecting to it is because it utilizes what we're currently all, dealing with in a effective horror movie way. And so I think people are seeing what's been done with very little on these movies and really appreciating that, which I also do. But as far as it actually being a movie, it does have some issues. First and foremost being that I don't like any of the characters. I mean, that's obviously a review in general is subjective, but that is a totally subjective thing. So maybe somebody watches and like, oh, it's just like my friends. But they're all just really obnoxious, and, the movie takes a little bit to get going in a way, which I know is ridiculous. I mean, it's a movie that's only 56 minutes. It should not take time to get going. But I think we have still like 15 minutes setup for these characters, which I think if they were more enjoyable, more likable characters, I would not have minded as much. But at a certain point, when you're watching 15 minutes of people being obnoxious, like I can barely stand someone being obnoxious in a short like clip online when I'm scrolling through social media or something. I see it, I'm like, oh god, I can't stand that. Let alone 15 minutes of just watching obnoxious people. It's like, oh my god, I don't care about these people and how you're not taking this, seance seriously and everything. I actually think, without getting into too many spoilers, I think it would have been more interesting maybe if you had one obnoxious person or like one non-believer and then everybody else was kind of at least indifferent to it. I would have been able to kind of root for these characters a little bit more. But as it is, when things start going wrong, because it's a horror movie, inevitably they do, I was just like, all right, who's the next person to die? Like, I didn't care. I wasn't invested because I didn't like these characters. And so when we start seeing them in peril and they start, getting worried, you want that feeling in a horror movie of like, oh my gosh, I root for these people. Or at the very least, you want somebody to connect to it. You want, even if it's, they're all obnoxious characters and there's one character you can connect with, you can at least root for that person. But when they're all obnoxious, I'm like, I don't care what happens to these people. The other issue I have with the movie is that it is at its best when it's being creepy. The movie is really successful when it's. I'm trying not to go into spoilers because the movie again is really based around these scares. There's not a whole lot of plot to it, and that's okay for the type of movie it is. But when the movie's being creepy, it's effective. It's tense. It's unsettling. It earns moments of scares when it's really just. It's so hard not to talk about spoilers, but there are some good moments in this for sure. However, there are also some bad scares. This movie seems to have taken the page out of, Paranormal Activity's book, which is loud noise or jump scares or things like that. There's literally the worst type of jump scare. I won't say when it is, but something. Well, it actually happens twice, but something coming at the camera type of jump scare where it's like and. One time it is effective because it's not your typical type of jump scare like that, and I was like really impressed with how they pulled that off. I was like, that was well earned. The other one, it's just a cheap jump scare, and it's really annoying. Again, I've talked about this a billion times in my reviews. Jump scares can be effective if they're earned. If they're cheap, they're lazy, and I hate it. That's just what it comes down to. And this movie kind of teeters between that line of sometimes they're really effective, sometimes they're really lazy. So you can kind of forgive that because, again, this movie is so short. I didn't invest a whole lot of time. It's not like Paranormal Activity. Yes, I was saying this movie has 15 minutes of obnoxious setup, and then even like 5 minutes beyond that where we're kind of in the seance and we're setting things up. That's obnoxious as well. But Paranormal Activity, those movies are all about setup, and really nothing really happens until like the halfway mark in that movie, in any of those movies, really. Which is why this is much more successful. I do think this is a better version of that if you're going to watch that. And you know what? If you got some friends together on like a Friday night and you just want to watch something really quick that's going to scare some people, you could do far worse. This is a really well put together film. And I applaud the filmmakers for doing what they can with very little. I think this is one of those movies where less is more works better. And I don't know what the budget of this was. I mean, maybe with Shudder's backing, they had a little bit more money, but I can't imagine that they spent too much on this. There are some moments within the movie where they're like, clearly that was not an in-camera effect. Clearly they had to do something, digitally afterwards or whatever. But even still, I do think this is a fairly successful film. It's not groundbreaking. It's not completely gonna revolutionize anything. And like I said, I think really people are hyping it up so much because it effectively uses elements of what we're all going through to tell a story, so people are connecting with it on that level. I mean, how many people do you know that are using Skype or Zoom or Google Hangout or whatever to talk with their friends? And so taking that and applying it to a horror movie, I think that is a mostly subtle horror movie. Well, that's not completely. It has moments of subtlety, especially early on in the movie. That is effective, and I applaud them for that, and I applaud them for doing a lot with very little. It doesn't feel like the budget of this movie was super expensive or anything like that, so I really have to applaud them for that. The movie isn't perfect, but that said, the movie overall is fairly effective, and it's short. Its runtime is 56 minutes. You're in, you're out, you're done with the movie. it's fun in that regard. So if you have Shudder and you want to check out, something different, something that kind of relates to what we're all going through, and something that's overall very fun. It is fun. It's not perfect, and it's not groundbreaking as far as horror goes, but it is fun. If you want to watch it, check it out. I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying for a month of Shudder or whatever just for this movie. I think there are better movies on Shudder that you can watch. But that said, if you already have Shudder or if you're trying it out for free, Host is not a bad option to watch. It's overall very fun. But that's just my opinion. What did you think of the movie? Did you watch Host? Let me know in the comments down below. On top of that, if you want to see more videos like this, you can check out some of my other impromptu reviews I've got on the channel. You can check out Fright Films, my horror movie analytical show. I got food reviews. I got all kinds of stuff on the channel. So please check out everything on here. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.